Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Dr. K's Sunday Special. I'm really excited about today's topic. Today we're talking about high blood pressure. And I want to start off with a question. Would you measure your blood pressure at the doctor's office after walking up 20 flights of stairs? No, right? Because your blood pressure would be higher than it is while you're at rest. And the point of that is I want to demonstrate to you that blood pressure is an intelligent mechanism. Your body just doesn't throw out a random pressure that it wants to sit at that day. Your body is constantly adapting to the stresses of the environment, physically, chemically, and emotionally. All of these stresses combined, your body takes in those stresses and places a pressure that matches the demand. So if you've been diagnosed with high blood pressure, that is a sign that your body is not managing stress very well. You're in this fight or flight, sympathetic dominant state that you're constantly ramped up and ready to go, when what you really need is to signal to your body, physically, chemically, and emotionally, signal to your body to shift to a more resting state, to a more parasympathetic, resting and digesting and running your immune system state. So the true solution to high blood pressure is changing the stresses that are placed upon your body, how you're managing those stresses, your mindset of dealing with those, to actually relax your body naturally. Because mark my words, if your number one way of battling with your high blood pressure is a high blood pressure medication that just reduces the pressure of your system, I see it over and over and over again. Maybe you've dealt with the same thing. First thing that happens is you get put on the blood pressure medication. Immediately, the initial response of the body is going to be to double down and match that pressure and increase the pressure, to which you'll go back to your doctor and then they'll double your dose, and the body will do the same thing because it wants to maintain that pressure. It's doing it on purpose. So your body matches it and raises the blood pressure. Then what you do is you get on a second medication and so on and so forth, and you keep upping the ante as if the cause of your high blood pressure was a deficiency of blood pressure medication, when we know that's not the solution. The solution is not pulling the plug out of the bathtub to try to drain the pressure. The solution is figuring out why your body is pressurized. I can't stress that enough because it's important to understand that the intelligent design of the body dictates what is happening. And unless you address what's causing your problem, if you keep trying to go after the symptom, then you're not going to have a very fun ride. And it's worthwhile noting, the symptoms of high blood pressure are there are none. There are no symptoms directly of high blood pressure, right? So most likely what you've been diagnosed with is just a measurement tool. Somebody's gone in and measured your blood pressure. You're higher than what they say is normal for you, what they've measured on other people maybe, and they've told you have high blood pressure and you need to deal with it. Make no mistake, what's gonna kill you is not the high blood pressure, it's whatever's causing it. The stress that's causing that high blood pressure that your body can't adapt to, that's really what you're at risk for. That's what you're in trouble for. So you gotta figure out what's causing it, okay? What I really like to think about blood pressure is the equation that goes into dictating it. And here's what I mean. Here's the blood pressure equation in a simplified form. It gets way more intense than this, way crazier. There's a lot of variables, but broken down to its simplest form, here's what blood pressure looks like. P, which is your blood pressure, is a result of Q times R, where Q is the cardiac output, that is the strength of your heart actually pumping blood out of the heart, and R stands for resistance, and that's resistance in the vessels and resistance in the fluid. In this case, we're talking about blood. So pressure is a value of Q times R. And the reason I really like this equation when you break it down is this right here shows you all of the players that are involved that are going to allow you to figure out truly what is causing your blood pressure problem or what is causing your body to be stressed to increase the pressure. These players are right here. So now you can take these players, pick them apart, and start to identify maybe within them what is happening. And it's really nice here because physical, chemical, and emotional stress is going to directly result with physical being the cardiac output, chemical being the fluid consistency, that's largely the diet that we're eating, what constitutes the blood, And then also emotionally, we're talking about the vessels, the tension within the system. A lot of that's emotional stress, in my opinion. So here's what we're looking at. Physical stress that's going to improve your blood pressure. HIIT. And those of you that have not heard of this, HIIT stands for high intensity interval training. And basically what this is working out and engaging in activity at such a high threshold, at such a high energy level, that it's causing a lot of good physical stress to your heart. And your heart is just one big muscle. And when you engage in a HIIT training activity, the demands placed on that muscle are really high. And what it does is you have these high intense intervals and then you rest. And then high intense intervals of training and then you rest. And that stress is going to cause the heart to get stronger and healthier and more efficient at pumping blood. As the heart gets stronger at pumping blood, as it becomes more efficient at pumping blood, what you're going to find happen is that within this equation, blood pressure tends to drop and go down to a more normal level. So HIIT training, definitely work with a trainer on this one. You don't want to overdo it. Most experts say that you don't want to engage in this activity more than 2, maybe 3 times a week because it's very taxing on your system. It's a high level of stress, but you can work with it whether you're 16 years old and in high school or whether you're 75, 80 years old and you're not moving so well. HIIT training can be adapted to many different people, nearly any different physical exertionary status. So as long as you're able to move and get out of bed, HIIT training is going to be a good option for you. Chemically, the chemical stress that I really enjoy talking about as it relates to blood pressure is your diet. Now, diet is such a big term, but I want you to think about it as terms of inflammation. So a pro-inflammatory diet is going to cause a lot of tension within the system. An anti-inflammatory diet is going to reduce the pressure inside the system. And what we're talking about is what constitutes the fluid that is the blood that's running through your system. So if you have a diet that's high in omega-3s, for instance, it's going to tend to thin out your blood a little bit. It becomes less viscous and therefore is able to get pumped through your system more. Right? If you have a diet that's very high in, say, really bad oils, that is like canola oil or things that are inflammatory, these free radical forming oils that are in most of the foods that we eat, certainly the processed foods and certainly the manufactured products, the microwave dinners and those types of things. Those types of oils are actually going to cause a lot of irritation inside your circulatory system. It's going to cause a lot of scar tissue. Some of you might have heard of atherosclerosis or heart disease. That fluid is going to become very reactive and very inflammatory. So don't look past the diet and how much better you can make the fluid, the blood, traveling through the system as low resistance as possible. And as you lower the resistance of that fluid, as your blood gets healthier from your diet, you're going to see a big improvement with your blood pressure. And I'm not here to tell you exactly what diet to eat, but I am here to tell you that there's a cause for what's happening. So I would encourage you to work with different specialists and try different things. Don't do this on your own, but look into what other people have already done a lot of research on. And there's a lot of really good diets out there that are easy to follow. And I promise it'll at least cause change. You'll be able to start to change what's going on. And I think you'll see a result, maybe not directly in your blood pressure, but maybe in other areas of your life as well, where you'll start to feel healthier and move better. And then as you feel healthier and move better, maybe that will decrease your blood pressure indirectly. So that's something to consider. Don't overlook what you're putting into your body directly as a direct cause of what you're dealing with, in this case, high blood pressure. Last, we're talking emotionally, and that's where the vessels come into play, the tension on your system. Look no further than meditation. Now, the way meditation works, I think, on helping with blood pressure is it shifts the focus away from sympathetic, that is fight or flight, tension in your system, to a more parasympathetic rest and digest and immune system building state. It's going to decrease the tension. And as you decrease the tension in the vessels, the heart doesn't have to work so hard, the pressure doesn't have to remain so high to reach the demands of the body. And meditation comes in so many different forms. I'm relatively new to this whole world of meditation. In fact, the word meditation used to not sit well with me. I had this preconceived idea of what it was and what it wasn't, and the whole word turned me off quite a bit, to be honest with you. But the more I talk with experts and the more I read about meditation and the more I learn about all these different ways that you can be aware of it, I think meditation is something you should look into. You can call it what you want though. Call it awareness, call it being in the present moment, call it shutting out the noise. Whatever method that you choose, that's up to you. But what I would recommend you do is that you calm your system, you simplify your life, and to gain some perspective on what's going on. One analogy that I really like is when you're sitting on top of the ocean, the waters can get pretty choppy. When you're in a boat and you start to get these high swells, it can be really hectic. It can cause a lot of pressure within your system because life is so tense. It's so emotional and it's so fight or flight and sympathetic. But what meditation does is it gives you perspective all the way down to the deepest depths of the ocean. When you're a mile, 2 miles deep. And when you're deep like that, all the noise calms down. Everything becomes quiet and more tranquil. And what it does is it gives you perspective where meditation allows you to tap into those deeper depths so that you can relax and you can gain perspective on the moment. And you're not so choppy up on the surface, but you're sitting at the bottom, taking a cool, calm look at what's going on, and you're able to deal. You're able to just breathe. You're able to relax. Doesn't mean that you won't be sitting in that boat from time to time, but what meditation does is it gives you the contrast. It gives you the hope. It gives you the wherewithal to realize that it's not all rocky waters and crazy storms. There's a calmness to life. And so it taps into that in a very powerful way. I wouldn't overlook it. These are just 3 physical, chemical, and emotional stresses that I think will be helping with your blood pressure, but by no means is it the only 3. And most of the time, life is so complicated and complex, it's a combination of the 3 that really will solve the problem for you. So this is just a starting point of hope and a starting point so that hopefully you can look at some of these stresses in your life and start to engage in them and start to get a hunger, start to get a swagger as you tackle issues within your life, where you start to see a hope, you start to see a path forward. And understanding the equation, in my opinion, helps because it identifies the players. And then once you identify the players, now you can start assessing maybe what's going on in your life and ultimately what is causing your problem. So I really hope you enjoyed this information on high blood pressure. Definitely take some of this into your own life. Start to engage in the process. Drop a comment in the comment section, maybe with some results that you've had in your own life and in tackling some of the physical, chemical, and emotional stresses. I love hearing the stories from you all. And until next time, this has been another episode of Dr. K's Sunday Special.